Welcome back to the Cinema Sit-Down. We just watched Just Mercy, which follows Brian Stevenson, a Harvard grad student who moves to Alabama to help those people on death row to get proper representation or people that have been wrongfully accused. This movie then goes to follow the story of Walter McMillan, who was accused of killing a teenage girl and was wrongfully accused. And this story is kind of about that. So, what are your guys' thoughts on the acting?
This movie was such a character piece. It was just a powerhouse for every single actor involved. Like everyone knows that Jamie Foxx and Michael B. Jordan are fantastic actors. Jamie Foxx especially, he's done roles like this before where it's dealing with, issues of race, and he's able to give such a powerhouse performance. You can tell that he really puts everything that he has into these roles, and it comes across in the scene, and it makes you want to cry a lot. He does such a job. I don't know, even the extras in this movie, you notice that McMillan's mother and his son, the son's friend, at this, whenever the son stands up in the courtroom and he literally yells at the judge, it's powerful. And even just from the supporting cast, it seems like everyone in the project just gave their all. I was very impressed and surprised by that.
Kind of backing on that, I think what really pushes the acting in this movie is the fact of the use of silence.
Mm-hmm.
If you notice a lot of scenes, it's just very silent. It's them talking or them showing their emotion. There's not the only time you ever really hear a big audio boost is when there's slow music in the background to show a build up or something
Mm-hmm.
sad that happens. But I think they really truly just wanted to show this is the acting, this is the actors, this is what actually happened,
Mm-hmm.
to push that and portray that more.
It gives it a very realistic and kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's just very heartfelt, we'll say. Really, so many scenes pull you in. Again, with the use of silence, it's a little bit of editing, and they just pull you in and kind of put you into that scene. You get sucked into the screen, and everything else just fades out a little while you just get so invested in this movie, into the characters' emotions, and just even though it's a movie, you can start to feel an iota of what the real life characters are feeling in that moment. And just pulling off something like that just from a filmmaking perspective it's extremely commendable, and I envy it immensely for that.
What are your thoughts on the acting, Paris?
Yeah, and the acting specifically I thought was really good. I'm a big fan of Jamie Foxx, so I think he did an incredible job in this film, as he always does in most of his roles. Like you mentioned, Michael B. Jordan, really captivating. I think everyone played their character really well, and I just think overall it all kind of came together to be a really moving and touching story. And I think it was really a story that kind of needed to be told, because I feel like it's something that a lot of people disconnect with, and a lot of people ignore or choose to just kind of forget about, or not really think about, because when we think about these things about civil rights and black people being oppressed in society and being discriminated against, people really see themselves removed from that and be like, oh, that was so long ago, that doesn't happen anymore. But this is a story that needs to be told that only happened in the late 80s, early 90s, and most people think that that stuff was all over with after Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement happened and everything is all good now. But even today, there's still so much that we need to do, and I think that this story really helps bring awareness to that and helps captivate on that.
And that's even something that I was thinking about whenever we finished the movie, and they were doing their little ending slides about where are they now. One of Roy McMillan's fellow inmates in jail, he only got released from prison because they were finally able to prove that, hey, he didn't do this, in 2015. And it's just so amazing to me how these Jim Crow era leftovers are still so prevalent even today, and that was only in 2015. It makes me think how many people are still on death row from the racist South judicial system still keeping them there, enforcing them there, and how many people never got the opportunity to even get out and get this representation because they were never allowed it by the justice system that they lived in. And it's just something that kind of happens silently in our world today, and it's just, the movie did just such a good job of not only bringing it to light, but portraying it in a respectful way from a point of view that would have the most to say about it. Because they could have so easily made it just about, you know, a white lawyer going in and saying, whoa, this is bad, you shouldn't be doing this, but they chose to give it the perspective of, of course it was based on a true story, but from the perspective of a black lawyer and the black family and their feelings and how it's affecting them and the black inmates, and it showed it from just such a, you know, point of view that I just have such a respect for.
So were there like any scenes that you specifically loved in the movie?
There are a couple of those. Yeah, one of the things I really appreciated was not really just one scene in particular, but the transition from one scene to the next, because it really just it does kind of hit you. For example, whenever the lawyer, I forget his name right now, Brian, Michael B. Jordan's character, he is interviewing Roy McMillan's family for the first time, family and friends. It's just such a stark contrast to the scene directly after that. In the scene where he's with the family, it's very crowded. There's a sense of community. There's a sense of everybody. This affected everybody in this community, and they're all rallying around to see what they can do about this. And it's got a very warm color palette, and you really feel that, again, sense of community. And then the scene directly after that, the color palette changes to, it's cold. Or the lawyer, Michael B. Jordan's character, is sitting all alone in this prison cafeteria or this meeting room. It's just such a stark contrast between the two kind of worlds, and we get to see that. It was very impressive. It was jarring, and it had just those transitions alone added a new layer to the movie, I think.
Jordan, were there any scenes you specifically loved?
Well, I didn't love this scene, but the one scene that stuck out to me was Herbert's death, and how that was very emotional, because I feel like that was probably the time in the movie when I started crying, and then I just couldn't stop crying until the end. But I love that he was mentally sick, and they didn't want to help him, but everyone else knew that he was sick. And I love that the one thing he wanted before he died was to play his song, and that was so cool to watch. And then how everybody starts banging on it. It's just, it was so cool, because they were like, no, we're here with you. You're not going out alone.
Yeah, I remember watching that in theater. I just started bawling my eyes out in the middle of the movie theater, which is funny because I don't cry during movies like at all. My mom turned to me and was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "No, I'm not okay." I think the way that they also portrayed like somebody actually getting electrocuted was really powerful. Because if you ever notice, like the camera when it actually happens is on Michael B. Jordan, but who's getting electrocuted, you can see it in the reflection of like the glass, the window. You can actually see like his body jolt and move.
It's a very abrupt cut.
Just gone. Like he's just, that's it. And then
it's over.
And then it's over.
The scene concludes. It's like a minute after that. They hardly give it any time, and it's very kind of reflective of like just death in general. Just people they're just gone, and that's all there's really to say about it. And it's just they were just robbed, and now we have to move on with it. There was never a choice to begin with.
Also, like, if you notice the, like, scene directly after that, when he's walking out, he's very sad. It's just everybody else that was in that room is just walking to their cars, like nothing happened. And the room was, like, that watched him die was filled with, like, white police officers. And that was, like, it. And then it was Bryant sitting there watching him.
Oh.
Yeah. Like, speaking on that death, like, I like how the movie also kind of was painting this picture of what the death penalty just specifically is like, and how the death penalty and execution takes place in America, because like other countries it's outlawed and it's still kind of in a gray area in some states, but like I like how, especially at the end, like it really talked about how it was making an argument, I would say, for like how the death penalty is in some instances unjust. There's like a shocking amount of people that are innocent that are killed, as we saw in the movie, and then also made that point at the end. So I really liked how it also touched on that side of things, as well as like the death penalty and how it can be not as effective as a lot of people think it is, and not as moral as a lot of people might think it is.
And that's one of the things I really loved about this movie, like relating a little bit back to that, was it wasn't just about, you know, the trial or mistrial of Roy McMillan. It had so many other themes and undertones that it touched on, even if some just briefly. Like near the beginning of the movie, whenever Michael B. Jordan's character Brian is first driving to the prison, we see the scene of you know, these prison laborers just hacking away at stone, and this white, and most of you are black, and this white security guard is on a horse with a shotgun, and it's extremely reminiscent of, you know, slave labor, and, you know, these white plantation owners, but that's just one example of this is like these smaller things that they plant inside the movie that they're trying to make a bigger statement about the justice system here. They're trying to, it's not just, it's pointing towards a picture that this isn't just Roy McMillan's story. This is the story of discrimination, or even to be even broader, of the broken justice system in America, and it's sort of an indictment of that.
Well, to kind of piggyback on that, you also see, like, Brian, you know, him trying to get justice for McMillan. You see him, like, having to strip down in front of that cop just to even go visit his clients. You see him, like, get pulled over and have a gun pointed to his head to try to, like, scare him away. All these people are like, you're going to make people in this community mad, like, trying to scare him off, scare him away from this case, and being like, you shouldn't do this, and, like, I think, because his mom said in, like, the beginning of, like, oh, you don't know what it's going to be like down there. Like, you don't understand that, because it is drastically different than probably how he grew up in the North, and coming down from that. I mean, he even says in the movie at one point, like, why did I think like, a kid from the North could come down here and change, like, this system and, like, change this and do this. And you kind of realize at that point, like, that's what he is there to do. Like, there's a bigger picture to this than just this one story that they want to tell. And I think they really do a good job of, like, doing write-offs and telling different side character stories. You even see, like, the guard, you know, the beginning, making him strip down, and at the end, he's letting McMillan see his family, like, letting him say goodbye to people, and, like, you see that character development of him being like, this isn't right, like, we shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah, they really did a good job just developing. Nothing in this film felt underdeveloped. It didn't feel lazily done. It didn't feel rushed. It was a 2-hour movie, but they took their time to make sure everyone got their conclusion and make sure that they told everything that they wanted to in the manner that they wanted to. And it didn't feel like there were any compromises for the sake of the theater or entertainment, or what I guess the mass audience would like. They had a very specific message and story that they wanted to tell, and by God, they didn't hold any bars for it.
I will say, like, cinematography wise, it's not like, oh my God, this is the prettiest thing I've ever seen. And you can tell a lot of the shots are, like, shaky, or, like, it moves slightly or whatever. I don't think that, like, ruins the film, though. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't like it when that happens or whatever, and I'm like, but that's not, like, the point that they're trying to get across, is being like, oh, let's make this look nice to, like, portray this. I think they do it really well through color, and they kind of use, like, the unsteadiness of it to be, like, push further into the characters and what they are and what they do and how they are. Especially, I can't think of his name, but the white guy that got McMillan in jail, I couldn't tell you it. He, like, his whole scene is very white, like, very blue. Like, it's cold. It looks like a mental asylum, honestly, like, on the inside of it. And you kind of see him being like, oh, I just want food, and, like, you should do this for me, to him being like, I don't want to do this anymore, and, like, wanting to get out of the case as a whole. And even, like, him sitting on the stand and being like, oh yeah, I don't remember this, so I don't know, just even seeing, like, the police officer's face and them having that, like, pressure and that hold against him, you kind of see it, like, bright-ish in a way, not really, and I think the color, like, pushes that really well to portray that point within the movie.
I thought they did really good at like, just showing kind of the issues that were going on. They did a good job showing just how bad it was, and how bad it used to be. And it's a good thing that it's not as bad now, but it still is going on. But I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, I love the fact that this movie came out in 2019. Like, I feel like if it would have been any earlier, it wouldn't have like done as well, or people wouldn't have like reciprocated it to it as much. I know it didn't win any Oscars because they were like, we're not white enough for that. But I mean, it did win some other awards and things like that. And I just think like Jamie Foxx does a really good job of portraying like his character and like who he's supposed to be telling this story about and like what actually happened. Because I mean, it is a true story. Like at the end of the day, it is a true story. You could be like, oh, I don't like about this or I don't like it about that, but they are telling the story of this person's life. I think that's all we have time for today. So thank you, and I'll see you guys next week.
Deuces.
Bye.